Welcome to the session on structure of eye. Our eyes are like camera. At every fraction of a second, they are capturing images. We can observe a night sky and easily differentiate between stars and planets, which are millions of kilometers away from us. Or we can also observe minute details of any object near us without aid of any external devices. Isn't it a fantastic organ? Yes, but many a times things can go wrong with it. Many people find it difficult to see far or near objects. Also, many people suffer from a condition called as cataract, where you can see white structure within the eye. Another common condition which you can see is conjunctivitis. Nowadays, you must have come across this word very routinely. Yes, eye donation. To understand all these terminologies or abnormalities related to eye, one should have a sound knowledge about structure as well as working of the eye. So, let us study anatomical structure of eye. So, in this session, we will study parts of the eye, fluids in the eye, mainly the aqueous humor, conjunctiva and lacrimal gland. Routinely, what we see as eye is just a small part of eyeball. As you can see in this scan, eyeballs are roughly spherical organs situated in a protective bony orbit. Grossly, parts of the eye can be divided into two, optical and neural. Optical parts help in image formation. They include cornea, pupil, iris and lens. Apart from this, there are many supporting structures which help these optical parts for proper functioning of the eye. Neural parts will help in image transmission to the visual cortex, and it mainly includes retina and optic nerve. As we are saying, it is eyeball. It's a ball-like spherical structure made up of three layers. Outermost layer is called as sclera, middle is choroid, and innermost layer is retina. Let us see about sclera. As I told just now, outermost layer of the eyeball is sclera. It is white in color, as you can see in this picture, and it is very tough and fibrous in nature. Anterior 1/7 portion of sclera is called as cornea. So as you can see in this diagram, this is the anterior 1/7 portion which is called as cornea. Cornea is transparent and avascular. It allows light to enter the eyeball. You have heard this word about eye donation. This eye donation isn't actually the transplant of entire eyeball, but it is the cornea that is being transplanted. So, eye donation word is concerned with corneal transplant. This is line diagram of eye, where you can see outermost layer sclera shown in white color, and the anterior 1/7 portion shown in this bluish color is cornea. As you can note in this picture also, cornea is bulged out, so eyeball is not a perfect sphere. Coming to the middle layer, choroid, it mainly contains blood vessels. As you can see in this picture, sclera is removed so that you can see the inner layer, that is choroid. Anterior part of this choroid shows thickened area called as ciliary body, and it contains ciliary muscles. Ciliary muscles are arranged in two groups, circular and longitudinal. This is the middle layer shown in red color called as choroid, and this is the anterior thickened part of choroid called as ciliary body. The part of ciliary body extends medially to form iris. So iris is present behind the cornea but in front of the lens. This iris is pigmented and opaque, and therefore it determines color of the eye. So as you can see in this picture, this is cornea and this part is iris. And because iris is colored pigmented structure and cornea is transparent, you can see this colored iris easily. Pigments in the iris determine color of the eye as shown in these two pictures. In the upper panel, this color of the eye we say it is brown, whereas this we call it as blue. The center of the iris is called as pupil, and actually this is the part which allows light to enter into the eyeball. So even though cornea allows light rays to pass through, most of the light rays will be blocked by iris, but only the central part, which is pupil, allows light rays to enter the eye. Diameter of the pupil can change as per the intensity of the light. If the light is dim, pupil will dilate, as you can see in this picture. It will allow more light to enter the eye. If surrounding light is very bright, pupil will constrict and it will reduce the amount of light rays entering the eye. So it is just like the shutter of your camera, which regulates the light entering the camera as per the requirement. So same way, pupillary diameter will regulate the amount of light that enters the eye. So let us see in this picture. This is the middle layer, choroid. Anterior part of choroid which is thickened to form ciliary body. The ciliary body extends medially to form iris, and in the center of iris is pupil. Now coming to the innermost layer of the eyeball called as retina. It is made up of 10 layers. Main contained in retina are the photoreceptors called as rods and cones. Apart from these rods and cones, there are some other neural cells also. Now if you see this retina shown in yellow color in this picture, you can see at the posterior pole this retina is thin, and this is called as fovea centralis. This is the part where your visual acuity or the clarity of the vision is maximum. Another structure on the posterior aspect of the eyeball but slightly medially is optic disc. Optic disc is the area from where optic nerve fibers leave the eyeball. This is also the site where retinal artery will enter and retinal vein will leave the eyeball. As this is just a point of entry or exit of certain structures, there are no photoreceptors in this area. That means rods and cones are absent in this area of optic disc. Because photoreceptors are absent, image cannot be formed, and therefore it is called as blind spot. Blind spot will be present in each and every person, and therefore it is also called as physiological blind spot. Now let us see the structures again in this line diagram. So shown in this yellow color is retina. This depressed portion of the retina at the posterior pole of the eye is called as fovea or fovea centralis, and this another structure near fovea is called as optic disc or blind spot. Now coming to the lens. Lens is the most important part of the eye. Like cornea, lens also is transparent and avascular structure, and it is biconvex in nature. Lens is also elastic in nature, and thereby it can change its convexity as per the requirement. Lens is located behind the iris. It helps to focus rays exactly on the retina where photoreceptors are present. Lens is held in the position with the help of suspensory ligaments. So as you can see here, this fibrous structure, these are the suspensory ligaments which are also called as zonules. These suspensory ligaments attach lens to the ciliary body so that lens is kept in the position. Now this is the lens which is normally transparent in nature. This lens is actually made up of proteins, but these proteins are arranged in such a way that they won't provide any opacity to the lens. But as the process of aging, these proteins get denatured, and this denaturation of proteins leads to opacity of the lens, what we call it as cataract. Again, whenever you talk about lens, your doctors will say word like phaco. Phaco is a prefix used in relation to lens. Phacoemulsion surgery is the surgical technique which removes opaque lens. Now let us see, this is the lens kept in the position behind the iris with the help of suspensory ligaments. Now coming to the chambers, there are two chambers, anterior chamber and posterior chamber. Anterior chamber is present between lens and cornea. It contains fluid called as aqueous humor. So fluid in the anterior chamber of the eyeball is called as aqueous humor. It is secreted by ciliary body. Aqueous humor is clear and it nourishes lens as well as cornea. It exerts pressure within the eyeball called as intraocular pressure. Now let us see quickly how aqueous humor is secreted. Secretory epithelium of ciliary processes actively secretes sodium into the anterior chamber. This sodium entry is associated with passive diffusion of chloride as well as bicarbonate ions. As these are osmotically active particles, they attract water molecules. That means water enters the anterior chamber by the process of osmosis. Apart from these electrolytes and water, other substances like glucose, amino acids, ascorbic acid enter the anterior chamber by the processes like facilitated diffusion as well as active transport. Similar to your brain, eye also has barrier between the aqueous humor and blood so that proteins will not enter into the aqueous humor, and it is absolutely essential to prevent diffraction of light rays. So this barrier is called as blood aqueous barrier. Let us see now circulation of this aqueous humor. This is the anterior chamber between the lens and the cornea. Now please remember, this anterior chamber is further divided into anterior and posterior chamber. Posterior chamber is the part between lens and the iris, whereas anterior chamber is the area between iris and the cornea. These are the ciliary bodies, and ciliary epithelium will be secreting the aqueous humor. Aqueous humor secreted by the ciliary epithelium will enter first into the posterior chamber. Then it flows out via pupil into the anterior chamber. From anterior chamber, it flows towards sclerocorneal junction. Here, the epithelial surface will absorb this aqueous humor and then finally will be drained into canal of Schlemm. From canal of Schlemm, aqueous humor will be drained into choroidal vein. Thus, there is constant secretion of aqueous humor by the ciliary epithelium, which will be constantly drained by the canal of Schlemm into the choroidal vein. So all the time, this entire anterior chamber will be filled with aqueous humor. And this aqueous humor will exert some pressure on the eyeball, which is called as intraocular pressure. On an average, intraocular pressure is 15 millimeters of mercury. It ranges between 10 to 20 millimeters of mercury. Whenever there is increase in intraocular pressure, it is termed as glaucoma. It can be due to increased production or decreased absorption of aqueous humor. Now coming to the another chamber in the eye, posterior chamber. Posterior chamber is located between the lens and the retina. It contains clear but gelatinous and viscous fluid called as vitreous humor or vitreous body or just as vitreous. You can make out in this picture this gel-like structure here called as vitreous humor. It maintains the shape of the eyeball. Now coming to the other parts associated with the eyes, first is conjunctiva. Conjunctiva is thin and transparent mucous membrane. It lines inner surface of the eyelids as well as exposed surface of sclera. Conjunctiva is divided into two portions, bulbar conjunctiva and palpebral conjunctiva. Bulbar conjunctiva covers exposed part of sclera, whereas palpebral conjunctiva lines inner surface of the eyelids. It is highly vascular in nature and it provides oxygen to the cornea, especially when eyes are closed for a long time, as in case of sleep. You can see in this picture, eyelid has been dragged down to expose the palpebral conjunctiva. And shown over the sclera is this bulbar conjunctiva. As this palpebral conjunctiva is vascular in nature, this is one of the routine sites to look for pallor. Here you can see this conjunctiva is bloody red. This we call it as conjunctivitis. Inflammation of conjunctiva is called as conjunctivitis. Now coming to the last part of the eye, that is lacrimal apparatus. There is one predominant gland, primary lacrimal gland. It is located in superior lateral aspect of eyeball beneath the upper eyelid. This is the primary lacrimal gland. It continuously secretes watery secretion into the eyes, what we call it as tears. Tears form a thin film over the exposed part of the eyes. So as you can see here, this is punctum, superior punctum and inferior punctum. These are canaliculi, small ducts which carry tears from eyes. Opening of this canaliculi is called as punctum. Tears are drained via superior and inferior canaliculi into the lacrimal sac. From lacrimal sac, tears are drained into the nasolacrimal duct and finally into the nose. Whenever there is irritation of either cornea or conjunctiva, there is increased in tear secretion. This is called as lacrimation reflex. It is a protective reflex which washes out the irritants from the surface of eyeball. Afferent for this lacrimation reflex is trigeminal nerve and efferent is facial nerve. Now let us see functions of the tears. Tears help to remove microbes from the surface of eye. They also prevent adhesion and colonization of microbes in the surface of eye. Next, tears make corneal surface smooth and uniform and help in proper refraction of light. Tears are the major source of oxygen to the cornea. Tears which form thin film over the cornea contain dissolved oxygen and oxygen level will be exactly same as that of the atmosphere and this helps to provide oxygen to the cornea. As tears are getting drained constantly, they also help to remove the various metabolic waste products from the eyes. Here we finished with the major parts of the eye. Quickly we'll revise the parts again. Outermost layer of the eyeball is sclera. Anterior 1/7 portion of the sclera is cornea. Middle layer is choroid. Anterior surface of choroid forms ciliary body. Ciliary body extends medially to form iris. The center of iris is pupil. Behind the pupil is lens. Lens is kept in position with the help of the suspensory ligaments which attach lens to the ciliary body. Innermost layer of the eyeball, retina. Posteriormost pole of the retina is thin and called as fovea. Again on the posterior aspect of the eyeball but slightly on the medial side is blind spot. Present between the lens and the cornea is anterior chamber. It is filled with aqueous humor. Behind the lens is vitreous humor. That's all for this session. Thank you. If you enjoy my sessions, press the like button and share it with your friends. If you haven't yet subscribed my channel, press the subscribe button. To get notifications about new releases, press bell icon. Thank you for watching and see you in the next video.